Start spreading the news.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
New York, I love you. I love New York.
What's going on, people? Welcome to a live edition of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron. The show is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek, your number one place for all your ticket needs. Make sure to use the promo code Off the Ball Network, all caps, to get $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek.com. So let's get right into it. We got a lot of news to talk about today. Is the NBA draft lottery. So a lot of teams vying for that special talent in Victor Wembanyama and all that. And, the Knicks potentially, in Dallas franchises, have a lot of odds, a lot of stake today. So, but first, let's get into the big news of the day. And that's Dic Rivers fired. The 76ers have let go of Dic Rivers. And then it's kind of been a tale of a lot of great, a lot of good coaches being let go this offseason so far. And we saw, Budenholzer get fired, Monty Williams get fired, and now Dic Rivers being let go. So a lot of changes, and 76ers lost in 7 games to the Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum absolutely went off for a 50-piece, and their MVP and a former MVP did not show up in the biggest moments. And it's kind of been a trend, especially for Joel Embiid and then company, to not show up in the biggest games. It's kind of crazy how it happens, but it is the case, So Dic Rivers let go. It's, he had like a crazy record when facing, deciding games, like, being up, and the amount of losses he has when he's in a clinching game is kind of crazy and all that. But I know it's easy to point blame at Dic. It is, right? Dic Rivers has a track record, goes from the Clippers, that we saw, and it goes, blowing. I think he blew 2-3-1 leads with the Clippers. And then, his time, some of his time with Boston, they won a championship, but there are probably some years where they probably, should have won another one. And it's, obviously his time with even go back to Orlando. They blew a 3-1 lead with Orlando. He blew a 3-1 with Orlando with T-Mac. And now with the 76ers, it's just tough. It's tough. It's, you guys don't show up. Your best players don't show up. And it just feels like Dic just is not just always vibing with the players and all that. And I think that's the most important thing. I feel like he is a solid coach, but I think the most important thing with coaching is how you are able to handle personalities. And it just feels like Dic hasn't done a great job with that since he won a championship with the Boston Celtics. And it just hasn't worked out, since then. And, it's just unfortunate. And then, I don't know, is this it for Dic, as far as being a head coach in this league? I mean, say what you want, still has a nice track record. He's going to the playoffs every year he's in, but I wonder what the future holds for Dic Rivers, and what happens with the Philadelphia 76ers. We talked about it on the last pod a little bit. James Harden's a free agent, going to be a free agent, going to want to command some money. Tyrese Maxey's up for a rookie max deal. You still got Tobias Harris under contract, and that contract is this, it was bad when they signed it, and it looks bad now with the limited production you're getting from him. Even though it's, he is what he is as a player, but when you're a max player, how people perceive you definitely changes. What they do, Joel finally wins MVP, and it kind of felt like his MVP kind of was his NBA championship. Like he all he talked about was that, and then just it felt like that's what he was chasing. It wasn't cared about the so much about the ring as win the MVP to prove a point. And it's like, we know how great you are, man. And you got your MVP and you show up. So, people will get on Joker, for winning 2 MVPs and losing before, not getting to a finals. Well, at least he's gotten to a conference finals, Joker, unlike Joel Embiid. So I need the same energy from people that they had for Nikola because, Embiid kind of, it kind of felt like it was a narrative push for him to win MVP, and he got it. He definitely deserved it, But I think the narrative definitely got him over the hump with that. So, it's going to be interesting to see, how this team goes about next season because I don't think you can run it back again. And you don't have you can't blame Ben Simmons this time. You can't blame Ben. So you have to figure out some things, going forward with this organization. But definitely and this is with a lot of teams. There's going to be a lot of teams, and like I said, talked about this on the pod, that are going to have to figure out what direction they want to go to. So and I've talked about this numerous times, with Joel. When you don't root for injuries, but it's like you feel like it's his body's gonna break down. When he break down, it's not gonna be pretty to see. So like if you're Philly, like do you think about trading Joel? I don't think that's gonna happen. I think they're gonna keep him because he just won MVP and he was runner up. I believe the last 2 years. So it's hard to trade a guy like that who's had 3 very, very productive, really productive all NBA seasons. So, but these are things you're gonna have to think about. The process, it failed. I think you could say it failed to an extent. I mean, the vision was to win a championship. You had all those terrible years and all that, and you get the number 1 pick, you get the number 3 pick, get the number 1 pick twice. They traded for the number 1 pick to get Markelle Fultz over Jason Tatum, So, mistakes were made along this process. They didn't, not understanding the whole Ben Simmons stuff and him not progressing the way they wanted to. And, Joel worked, but if 2 of them worked, you might have had something. If Ben had, improved on the game the way you thought it would, maybe you have something, but that we'll never know, and it's crazy because what if they take Jason Tatum? Do they have a championship already? There's things you think about like, well, it is, but they didn't, they traded up to get Markelle, and Markelle's been solid, and he's shown some nice flashes down in Orlando, and, you root for him because of all the stuff he had to do with the shoulder and, tearing his ACL. So he's had some injuries to deal with, but kind of makes you think like, that's why it's important to draft well and all that. They essentially, the whole Jimmy Butler stuff, they picked up, they lost to the Bucks, and they got in the bubble, they got to the, they got to the finals, obviously, and lost in 6, but had that, mistakes were made along this process. So, a big offseason, maybe the biggest offseason in their franchise in a long time. So they have to figure some things out. But first comes is who's going to be the next head coach. And, that's going to be a big decision they have to make. They have to find someone that they feel like, regardless of who's on this roster, they have to figure out who's going to command the most respect from the players. From Embiid, and if James is back and all that, I know I've been clamoring for Sam Cassell to get a job. I feel like he's someone that can command respect. Now, whether he gets it, is going to be, I don't know, but I know Woj said that Mike Budenholzer is under consideration. Mike D'Antoni, every time it's hard and involved, D'Antoni's going to be there. Monty Williams, who was let go, Frank Vogel, who was, let go by the Lakers last season, and Nick Nurse, who was let go by the Toronto Raptors. Some big names and all that. Some big names, so they could potentially, but do they want to go the established route with excuse me, with Monty Williams or Mike D'Antoni or Budenholzer. Budenholzer is a championship coach. Oh, I mean, all these guys have either been there or have had success in the league, and Sam Cassell is the unknown, but Sam Cassell has a lot of respect among a lot of players. And he's not, he's been behind the, he's been on the bench for a while, and but this would be a perfect opportunity for him. If they want to go fresh and not go with a retread, but we'll see what happens. That's going to be interesting too. Philly is, you know, uh, you know, um, got a big offseason. They have to figure out something. So, you know, uh, direction they go and all that, what they do with James Harden, what they do with re-signing Maxi, a lot of things to figure out with this ball club, and we'll see what happens. We'll see. But other news, like I said, this won't be too long. Just wanted to go over some stuff, and later tonight I'm going to do a live stream on the NBA lottery. Have a kind of like a viewing party, but the lottery's today. NBA lottery is today, and obviously a lot of people we've been waiting for this for a long time. It's to see who's going to get the opportunity to draft Victor Wembanyama with the number one pick. I don't remember a time where the number one pick was this locked. Like, we know who. I mean, kind of felt like Zion was Zion, you would say. So 19 and LeBron James, maybe in between, maybe like Blake. I feel like Blake was kind of locked in at number one in 09, which is kind of crazy because you got Steph and Harden in that draft. But I felt like Blake was definitely going to be the number one pick of that year. So there's some years, is definitely, but there's never like this. But it was kind of like, maybe this is 100%, no doubt about it. Victor Wembanyama is going to be the number one pick in the draft. Like, there's no doubt about it. He's going to be the number one pick. And now it just, we see who's going to get. Now, we have, obviously, if people don't know, they changed the draft, percentages and all that. The top three teams have an equal amount of, equal percentage to get the number one pick. And it's Houston, Detroit, Spurs all have 14% chance. Then you have the Hornets at 12.5, the Blazers at 10.5, Orlando at 9, Pacers at 6.8, Wizards at 6.7, Jazz at 4.5, Dallas at 3%, the Bulls 1.8, Oklahoma City Thunder at 1.7, Toronto 1%, and the Pelicans at 0.5% odds to get the number one pick. I think the Bulls pick goes to Orlando. I don't know where it has to land, but I'm pretty sure. I think it's something like top 5. I could be wrong, but I know that's most likely going to be an Orlando pick. And Dallas's pick is top 10 protected. So the Knicks don't have a draft pick in this, in this draft as of now. So they could come out with the potentially to have, 11 to 14, most likely, probably 11 or 12 with how it should, probably should fall, if Dallas is outside top 10. So this can change the face of Dallas too, because they can definitely do some things if they wound up getting that, inside the top 10, or they get even higher. You never know how that works. And, so big day for Dallas, because you want to make your superstar happy and potentially, getting the number one pick, maybe getting the number one pick or getting at least a top 10 pick to maybe flip that pick and go get yourself another complimentary star that can go help Luka, especially if Kyrie is not on the team, so that's big. But the race to the number one pick, what's the what team is the best fit for Victor has been something I've talked about with a lot of people, and I mean I think he fits everywhere, on the basketball court. Now I think a lot of people think about is the off court stuff, like marketability and all that, and the teams that are in the top 5 potentially they're not sexy markets at all. I mean, Houston's kind of sexy, but you know we've been hearing, they just got Ime Udoka, and you know maybe if they had got a younger coach or whatever that was being a part of the building process, maybe that would be an ideal fit for. But maybe Hughes is trying to go in the mode of trying to win, so maybe they go out and make some moves to try to win. They got a lot of good young pieces on that team, so maybe that's the way they go. So uh, you know how he fits in Detroit. I mean, I think he fits well in Detroit. With Kate Cunningham, Jaden Ivey. San Antonio, obviously, people talk about that. Markability is kind of blah, no offense to people in San Antonio, but it's not sexy. But, he's going with Pop. Now, how long Pop's there? I think that's also a big thing. Like, how long is Pop going to be there? Is Pop going to be there for a year, 2 years? Is he even going to be on the process? Staying along the process with Vic. So Houston, I guess we mentioned Houston, the Hornets. Obviously, just a few years ago, we were talking about this team maybe being, a top 5 team of the next 5 years. A team that could be something in the next 5 years. And obviously, last year was a disaster. LaMelo was hurt. The whole Bridges situation. Now Michael Jordan might be selling majority stake at the team, but I would like him with LaMelo. I think him and LaMelo, that's box office, first of all. And I think the NBA would love that. I think you're going to sell a lot of tickets, at least, there'll definitely be a league pass team, and they could use that. They can get that. They need that infusion, in Charlotte, because it feels like, other than LaMelo, who have they drafted in the Jordan era? Who have they drafted that you're like, okay, it's just been LaMelo now. It was just a few years ago. So, Orlando would be very intriguing, possibly. Him in Orlando with Paolo, who just won Rookie of the Year. They got some good young pieces there. I think Orlando, to me, is a team that should potentially look to make a big move. Because I feel like they got some pieces. And Paolo, to me, is a potential all-star player. I think he's that skilled, and once he gets everything together, like, think about it with Paolo last year. He was almost an all-star type player, and that's with him, shooting low 40%, 29, I think below 30% from 3, and he hit that rookie wall, but that happens to every rookie. They hit that wall, so that wasn't expected. And then you expect in year 2 to understand that, and those numbers should go up, and he should be a 23, 24 point per game scorer next season. You add Vic, it's going to take some heat off Paolo, because Paolo was the number 1 option as a rookie, and they got some pieces with Fultz there, with, they with Fultz there, and, Cole Anthony there. They still got Jonathan Isaac. I don't know how that's going to work. I probably don't think he'll be there next season, but, they got some pieces. Wagner, they got Franz, they got some pieces. They got some pieces there. So, Wendell Carter, so they got some things that they could work to make a move and still have Paolo and Vic potentially, work with whoever else. So I think Orlando's in a very good spot. And then they also have potential, with the Bulls pick. So they're sitting pretty right now. The Blazers, and I just posted this on Twitter, not too long ago, maybe 20, like a half hour ago. What if they do get the number 1 pick? And obviously the whole Dame situation, they didn't have a great season and all that. If they get the number 1 pick, does this make it easier for them to be like, yo, Dame, got the number 1 pick. We're taking Wemby. We got Shaden Sharp here. We got Anthony Simons. I think it's time that we sit down. We explored some trades. You tell us where you want to go, and we try to do right by you, because you've done right by us. We're gonna do right by you. Try to get you somewhere where you can try to win. I think that's the way you got to go. I don't think you can entice. He may want to stay in, but I feel like as a franchise, you've capped out with Dame here. And yeah, him and Victor could, but it's like he's what Dame, 33 years old. I feel like if you're Portland, you just got to blow it up, and you find the right part, right trade partner for Damian Lillard, do right by him, and explore that and move on. And but you got some good pieces to build around, and you're gonna have abundance of picks. maybe a good young player in return for Dame. The picks, good young player, and then you got Victor Wembanyama, uh, Shaden Sharp, and Anthony Simons. That's a good core to build around, and you might be able to turn it around a lot quicker than expected. So if you're Portland, you get that number one pick. I feel like you got to be on the phone. You got to talk to Dame and be like, man, we gotta make this happen. We got to trade you. We got to send you some, but I think they're going to do right by him, send him somewhere. They're not going to just send him to Siberia. Not going to send him somewhere where I think they'll do right by him. I think I could be wrong. It's the NBA, things are crazy, but I feel like they'll do right by him and trade him somewhere. So, Portland's going to be an interesting situation for him. What if a team comes out the top rope and gets the number one pick like Dallas Wizards and all that, Dallas with Wemby, it's crazy. That would be wild, all that. And that could definitely get some, it'll be crazy. It'll be crazy. It's going to be fun though. It's going to be exciting night. I know a lot of, Spurs fans that are nervous. I know a lot of Pistons fans are nervous. This is a potentially game-changing night, because whoever gets the number one pick can potentially get themselves, a franchise changer. But that doesn't mean if you get two that you're going to be, sad, because I think Scoot, who's as of now, I think he is the number 2 pick, and I feel like confident that he's going to be the 2 pick. I feel like if you're Houston, San Antonio, if you do get 2, I'm, you don't get Wemby and all that and all the buzz he generates and all that, but Scoot's not a bad consolation prize. It's kind of like 19, with Zion, right? And you may think Scoot's going to be a better long-term player than Vic. But we all know Vic's going to go number 1. You can't pass up on him. Same thing with the Zion, the 19. Even if you felt like Ja was going to, and obviously Ja's going through his own thing, but we can't predict that. But at the time, you think, even if you thought Ja was the better player, Zion, he did crazy money for the Pelicans, so it's kind of hard. You're passing on a person that is going to generate you a lot of money. Jersey sales, Vic probably going to be top 10 in jersey sales immediately, and he's going to get you season tickets, and he's going to get people in the building because it's just you want to see him. You want to see him, and they'll probably do good road attendance. So if you're on, you're a home team and you got whoever's on Vic team, that's going to generate money. It's going to be something we haven't seen. We saw it with Zion, that effect, and obviously it hasn't transcribed because Zion's been hurt, but we saw it with LeBron in 03, and that was 20 years ago. That effect, and it's going to be to that level, start. And I think he's going to be a good player. I think the only thing that I think people worried about is the injuries. I think he's going to be a good player. I think it's now the level of good. Is he a perennial all-star and all that? Is he a all NBA and all that? That's to be determined. I don't know, but I think he's going to be a good player for sure. So it's very intriguing, man. I'm very excited to see. It's going to be very intriguing to see what happens. But there's a lot of talent in this draft. I know there's people are so focused on the first 2, but you got the Amen Thompson from OTE, who's an intriguing prospect, a supreme top percent athlete already. Like he's very a freaky athlete, crazy first step, has great passing ability at such a young age. And someone that is special talent. Obviously we know about Brandon Miller, who's an absolute, one of the best, probably the best freshman this season. What he was able to do to create a shooter and all that. He was really good this season. Tailed off a little bit late, but still had a tremendous season. Um, there's Cam Whitmore from Villanova, who I feel like there could be a chance, in my opinion. I can see a scenario where Cam Whitmore and Amanda Thompson can go ahead of Brandon Miller. I know Brandon Miller has had the off the court stuff. But I can see a scenario. I think Cam Whitmore, he tested well. He's a freak athlete, possesses tremendous talent. So I could see a scenario with that. I mean, there's Anthony Black, who who some people get, Josh Giddey type vibes and all that. The big point guard who can do some things. He's a good talent. There's just a lot. There's just a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent in this draft. So even if you don't get the top pick, Jarice Walker, I feel like he's someone that is a connector. I feel like he may not have the upside of a lot of these guys, but definitely has the, maybe safe is the word, people use, safe prospect and all that, but definitely someone that could be a nice piece for a team. Taylor Hendrick is someone who's risen up the board a lot for a lot of people with his length and all that, very consistent throughout the season at UCF. So he's very solid also, but there's just a lot of, there's a lot of talent, people, if you want to buy into Keontae George, he's a very talented kid. People thought he was top 5 coming into year. Obviously like GG Jackson has tremendous upside. I know he had it up and, had some inconsistencies and all that, but there's going to be talent. There's going to be talent and all that. They can be in the lottery and all that. So it's going to be interesting to see, how everything plays out. Yeah, it's I'm excited, man. It's the lottery. My Knicks still have a chance to potentially be in the lottery, and then we can dive into who I don't think they would keep the pick. If it is 11-12, I don't think they would keep the pick. I think they would probably package that pick to try to get someone, but if they were to keep it, they could potentially get a wing of or maybe another shooter, Jordan Hawkins, of that type, that would be, or Kobe Buffkin, Grady Dick, Maxwell Lewis, some of that will, that would be good for the New York Knicks, or, trade down, maybe get some more picks and get someone later, that could fit. But it's going to be interesting times. And very excited about today's lottery. But it wasn't going to go too deep in this. Just wanted to talk about, like I said, tonight we're doing the NBA live lottery show, NBA draft lottery show on the YouTube page. So make sure to check that out. Go follow, subscribe. So we'll be on right before the lottery starts. We'll have a bunch of guys from the Off the Wall Network, joining me. Maybe some other guys will pop in for the lottery. But like I said, Dic Rivers let go by the 76ers. That's the big news. The NBA draft lotteries today. And very excited about that. So we'll see what happens. But on that note, be well, be safe, take care, peace out.